"Oh, well, I just went to get Chubby Checker these cigarettes," and they went like, "Ah!" They started screaming and they broke down the barrier lines and stuff, and they grabbed me. They trying to get the cigarettes for Chubby Checker that I got for him, and they ripped my shirt.
Hey, if you're like me and you're interested in the YouTube or creator space, you should check out The Published Press. The Published Press is a completely free newsletter founded by YouTubers Colin and Samir. They host their own podcast talking to some of YouTube's largest creators. They've edited some of the best content I've seen on YouTube, and now they're sharing their knowledge about the YouTube space with you for free. The Published Press comes out 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with everything going on with your favorite creators and platforms. And like I said, it's completely free. Just enter your email address to receive the Published Press whenever it comes out, and that's it. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below, sign up to the Published Press, and get all the info you need on the industry. He's the godfather of the Minneapolis sound. He founded his own music company and record label. One of his CDs has been accepted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he helped jumpstart Prince's career. Please welcome Pepé Willie. How are you doing today?
Ryan, I'm doing fine, and I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, I appreciate your accepting the invite and coming on. So, can't wait to have this chat with you, learn a bit more about, your life, how, like, your career, starting all your businesses, everything like that.
Right on. Yeah, right on.
So, I mean, just to get started, like, from a young age, just growing up, a lot of people in your family were, like, involved with music. What effect do you think growing up around so much music had on you?
Oh, wow. It was tremendous. My uncle, Clarence Collins, is the founding member of Little Anthony and the Imperials. And I know a lot of young folks don't know about them, man, because it's a new age. But they recorded songs like Tears on My Pillow, Shimmy, Shimmy, Cocoa Bob, Hurt So Bad, Going Out of My Head. And when my uncle was 17, they had a million seller, Tears on My Pillow. And they were doing rock and roll shows in Brooklyn, New York, at the Brooklyn Fox Theater in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Fox Theater and the Paramount Theater. So my first introduction into the music industry was at the Paramount Theater. I was just merely 15 years old, and I was just hanging out with my uncle and Little Anthony and Imperials, those guys. And my uncle had said to me, he says, "Pepe," he says, "why don't you go on all of these other stars' dressing rooms and ask them if they want anything from the store?" And I went like, "Wow, okay, that was a hustle, for me making
Yeah.
loose change, dollar bills. And the first artist that I ever went to the store for, besides Little Anthony and Imperials, was the great Chubby Checker, the twist guy. "Come on, let's twist again.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was a real funny story because I knocked on his door and he goes like, "Yeah, come on in." So I go in and then I'm looking at Chubby Checker and I'm going like, "Wow, man." And he says, I asked him, I said, "What do you want from the store, man?" He says, "Why don't you go get me a pack of cigarettes?" This is back in the early 60s and stuff.
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay." So he gave me some money to go get him a pack of Salem cigarettes. So I go out the stage door and they have a police line out there for all the fans and groupies
Yeah.
and all that. And I knew nothing about that. I knew nothing about groupies. I knew nothing about all of that. So the guard let me out. And as soon as I go out, people start screaming because they think a star is coming out. They're backstage. And they open the door and they go, "Yeah." And then they see me and they go like, "Who's that?" So I go to the store, I get Chubby Checker's cigarettes, a pack of Salem. I come back and I have to knock on the stage door so the guard would let me in. So the guard opens the door and somebody from the group the fans or whatever, had said, "Hey, how come this guy could go in and out when he wants to?" And me, like an idiot, I go, "Oh, well, I just went to get Chubby Checker these cigarettes," and they went like, "Ah!" They started screaming and they broke down the barrier lines and stuff. And they grabbed me. They trying to get the cigarettes for Chubby Checker that I got for him, and they ripped my shirt. I mean, it
My
was
god.
chaotic trying to get back in. So the guard had to pull me back in the door, and my shirt was all ripped up and everything. And that was the first experience that I had with fans,
Yeah.
and I learned really quick, So that was my first experience. And then like the next year, we went to the Brooklyn Fox Theater, headed by Murray Decay. Murray Decay was the top DJ in New York, 1010 wins New York. He's the one that brought in the Beatles too. But he gave these rock and roll shows. So now you got Little Anthony and Imperials. You got all of Motown. You got Mary Wells, the original Temptations with Eddie Kendricks and David
Oh yeah.
Ruffin. You know, you had the Four Tops, you had Smokey and the Miracles, you had Martha and the Vandellas, you had the Supremes, Marvin Gaye. I mean, all of these people were on the show, including Wayne Newton, when he was 18 doing Donka Shane, darling, Donka Shane, the Ronettes, I mean, Dionne Warwick, Patti LaBelle. I mean, everybody was there. And I used to run up and down the stairs, going to the store, running errands for them, getting them food, hamburgers or whatever, cheesecakes and stuff from world famous juniors in Brooklyn and stuff like that. And that's how I learned. And I learned the business hanging out with these guys, going to lunch with these people. And I never could say nothing, Ryan. I could not say nothing. You know, keep your mouth shut, they said, and your ears open. And I was going like, okay. So I had to learn. So I learned the business with them. And we did this for several years, and it was amazing. It was totally amazing. And
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like having several years of, almost private lessons from like some of the top talents in music seems like a great thing. What are some of them like the best lessons or like things you learned from those conversations?
well, the one of the first lessons is staying away from the fans. That was
Yeah,
the first lesson.
seems like
And
you learned that one pretty quickly.
I learned that pretty quick. And um, when I seen all of these acts together, white, black, everybody together, I thought I was going like, wow. I was going like, oh, well, this is the businesses I want to be in because everybody got along. During between shows, they did like 4 or 5 shows a day. And between the shows, all the groups, would come out in the hall and sing gospel songs. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going like, how did how did they know all of these songs? I didn't even know them, and I went to church a lot, but I didn't know all of them and stuff. And I thought that was fantastic. It was great, And I said, well, like I said to you before, this is the business that I want to be in. And the only competition that these guys had was when they were on stage. Everybody got along, everybody was friendly and stuff, but the Imperials would send me to the Four Tops room or the Temptations room and ask them what they were wearing, what uniforms they were wearing, what colors and stuff they were wearing. So I go to the Four Tops room and I say, hey, the Imperials want to know what you guys going to be wearing. What's the colors you guys going to be wearing? And he says, oh, we're going to be wearing blue today or black or whatever. And I go back up to the Imperials room and said, the Tops are wearing blue. And then Sammy from the Imperial says, okay, we're going to wear the white. We're going to kill them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that was the only competition. And to tell you about Little Anthony and Imperials, nobody could follow these guys on stage. Nobody, So they had to do the finale they were the last acts on the show because they were dancing and they were doing splits. They were singing and stuff, and the girls and everybody is screaming and stuff. And and that was the only competition. So after the show, they would congratulate each other. Hey, you guys did a great show, man. You guys are great. They're good. I tell you one incident. Um, the Ronettes was on, and they did like "Be My Baby, Be My Baby,"
Mhm.
blah. And they came on and they had hot pants, and they were short and they were shaking that thing, man, and all that, and the crowd was going crazy. So when they go off, now Marie K comes out and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Wayne Newton," and the crowd went, "Boo!" I felt so bad for him. They were booing Wayne Newton and stuff. They wanted to see more of the Ronettes shaking their butts and all that type of thing. So the next show, they had Wayne Newton come out before the Ronettes. And
Mhm.
then, so it was all that was settled. But I learned
Business move,
a lot
business
from
move.
it was awesome. Yeah.
Mhm. Are you a music artist trying to find a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible? Then check out DistroKid. DistroKid is a super user-friendly and super easy-to-use service that will make your music available in stores like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, Snapchat, everything. Everything you could imagine, it's available. People will even be able to add your songs into their Instagram stories. DistroKid helps you with the distribution, monetization, and promotion of all of your music. Use the link in the description of this video for 7% off any DistroKid package you want. Pick from musician packages designed to help artists get their own music out there, or even get a label package where you can manage up to 100 artists from one profile. So that's more for like managers, labels, and you can also get the musician package that I mentioned earlier, which is more for artists, producers, things like that. And super easy, and you can get 7% off any package right now with the link in the description of this video. So once again, if you're looking for a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible, I'm talking any platform you can think of, get DistroKid and get 7% off right now with the link in the description. Back to the program. After all that, like just being around music in the industry for so long, you eventually like started making your own music with your funk band 94 East, which had like you, Prince, Andre Simone, Colonel Abrams. What was
Yeah.
that time like? What were those studio sessions like? And just like that whole era of your life.
Oh, now that was a dream for me. I'm telling you. When I met Prince's cousin, first cousin, Chantel, I met her at the world famous Copacabana Club and where the Imperials were playing. So I met Ike and Tina Turner there. They came up to see the show, and other, acts came up to see the show, congratulating them because that was a big gig for them, the Copa.
Yeah.
And so Sammy Strain that came in. He was with the Imperials, and he comes off stage and he's sweating and stuff, and he got all these sweats and things. And I had to give him towels and stuff, and I'm hanging up their uniforms and everything. And he asked me, he said, Pepe, and I go, yeah, man. He said, who's that girl out there with the green eyes? I said, the girl out there, the green. Oh, I said, man, I said, that's my girl, man. Now, Ryan, I didn't even know this woman. I never seen her, or nothing. But these guys were getting all the girls, and I'm going like, "Hey, I got to get me a girl too." You know what I mean? And I wasn't singing anything like that. But I was writing lyrics because I didn't know how to play an instrument, so I was writing a lot of lyrics. So I had to go out into the waiting room, with all of these people in there, and find this girl with the green eyes. And I'm looking around. Then I see her, and I go like, "Oh wow!" And I sat down, I started talking to her, and that was Prince's first cousin. and we hit it off, man, and we had a great time. Her aunt lived in New York, and my uncle was dating her aunt, Kalua, and so we hang out all the time. We fell in love and all this type of stuff, and later on we got married. But I went into the service. Of course, I got drafted, and then I go into the army. I got out in 1970, and I went to Minneapolis. So I go to Minneapolis in 1970 to see her. Prince was 12 years old. He was 12 years old, and he looked like he was 8 because he was so short, and I didn't really pay him no mind. So I stayed there for like 3 months, and I had to go back to New York to fulfill my job with the New York Telephone Company as a cable splicer. So I go back to New York, and Chantel would come to New York and stuff, and we'd hang out and have fun and everything. And in '73, Prince called me up because Chantel was telling him all about me, how I knew about the business. I was reading This Business of Music book and everything, learning everything, contracts and everything, because I really wanted to be in this business. And so Prince would call me up and ask me, he says, Pepe, he says, yeah, Chantel told me that you know the business and everything. What about publishing? And I said, well, listen, I said, I'll be coming to Minneapolis real soon. So I can't tell you over the phone all of this. I'd rather speak to you in person. So I went to Minneapolis in 1974. Prince had just turned 16 years old. So this is funny. We went to a ski party because I was married to his cousin by then.
Yeah.
And her father had a ski club. And we went to this party that he had, and the band was playing, and that was Grand Central. That was Prince's band. And this woman kept looking at me. She kept looking at me, and I'm going like, why is this woman keep looking at me and stuff? So I went over to her table, and I says, "Hi, I'm Pepe." She goes, "Yeah." She says, "I'm Levon," and I says, "Hi, Levon." She says, "I'm Morris Day's mom." And I says, "Oh, okay, nice to meet you." I didn't know Morris Day. I didn't know any of them. Only one I knew was Prince and stuff. And she says, "Well, how do you like the band?" And I'm going like, "Wow, I think the band is great. I think they're cool." And she says, "Well, would you work with them?" And I was going like, "Why? Uh, yeah, yeah, I'll work with them." Now, I didn't know this, but they had told the band that this producer was coming in from New York to check them out. I didn't know it was me, you
Yeah.
know. So, by the time I'm talking to Levon, I said, okay, yeah, I work with the band and everything like that. And she set up rehearsals at her house up in the attic. So the first rehearsal, Grand Central, Morris Day on drums, Andre Simone on bass, Prince on guitar, Linda Anderson, Andre's sister, on keyboard, and William Hollywood was on percussion. He was playing congas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, um, play me one of you guys' songs, you know. So Prince had this song called Sex Machine, and they started playing this song, and I was going like, wow, this is great. But the song lasted for like 8, 10 minutes. And I'm like, and in those days, radio was only playing songs maybe 3 minutes, 3 minutes,
Yeah.
30 seconds, or something like that. And I told him, I said, okay, that's a great song. I said, but it's way, way, way too long. I said, I'm going to give you this formula to write songs within this time period. And I gave them this formula. You have the intro, then after the intro, you have your first verse, then you got your hook, then you got your second verse, then you got another hook, then you either have another part, the bridge. You have a
Yeah.
bridge, and then you would go out with the chorus. The chorus got to be played at least three times in the song and everything like that. So I taught them that. They learned that. So I taught these guys how to write songs for radio. you know. And so we did that. So then the next time I come in and they would rehearse, and Andre had this song called "You Remind Me of Me," and I said, "Okay, play that song." And they're playing the song, and I'm listening to the backgrounds. You know, Andre knew the song because he wrote it, and but everybody else was singing something different, and I'm going like in my brain, and these are teenagers, they didn't even have driver's license at that time, and I'm going like, well, wait a minute. I said, Andre, write the lyrics on the board. They had a blackboard up in the attic. So he wrote the lyrics on the blackboard, and everybody else going like, "Oh, that's what you were saying." They, they didn't even know,
They couldn't
So now
understand him.
everybody's juiced up. Everybody knows the song, and they play it and everything, and that was cool. But not all the time that we did music. We stopped and we talked about the business of music. I talked to
Yeah.
him about publishing, writing, producing, recording in recording studios, the performance rights organization like ASCAP, BMI, and everything. I knew the business in like the back of my hand. I mean, I knew it. And the stories that I was telling them, like I told you earlier, going, meeting all these other stars from Motown and other artists and everything, they trusted me, you know. And there were other several people who were trying to work with the band, but they didn't trust those people because they didn't have no background. I had all the background, so they trusted me. So one other rehearsal I go to, and they're playing this song, and then Prince stops, and he goes to Linda, Andre's sister, who was playing keyboards, and he says, "This is what I want you to play, Linda." And he starts playing the keys. I'm going like, wait a minute, this guy plays keyboards and guitar? I says, oh, okay. Now by then, he's my cousin in law
Yeah.
through marriage. And so then he goes to Andre. Now, Andre disputes this, but I remember this because this is how I remember that Prince played several instruments. He takes Andre's bass. Andre gives him the bass, and he says, "This is what I want you to play." And he's thumping. I mean, thumping the bass, man, like crazy. And I'm going like, "Wait a minute, wait a minute. This guy plays." In my brain, I'm going, "This guy plays guitar. He plays keyboards, and he plays bass." I go like, "Wow."
He's a
So
one-man band.
I know. So after the rehearsal, I asked him. I said, "Prince," I said, "Have you ever been in a recording studio before?" He goes like, "No." And at that time, I had built a group together as 94 East, and I was in
Yeah.
Cookhouse recording studios. And I says, well, I want you to come play with my band. We're in the studio. And he was like excited. He said, wow. He says, okay, because he had never been in a recording studio before.
Yeah.
So, and being that I was telling these guys about business, teaching them all of this and all of that, of course I had to pay them. I couldn't say, "Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks a lot. See you later." No, I had to pay him. I took Prince to the Musicians Union, got him signed up with the Minneapolis Musicians Union, and I gave him a cassette. Oh my God, I gave I
It
gave him
shows what time you were in.
right. I gave him a cassette of 5 songs that I was recording. If you see me, I always love you. If we don't, games and better than you think were the 5 songs. And I said, you practice this for a couple weeks, and then I'll book the time. We'll go in the studio. And I had gave this information to all my other band members too. My drummer was 16 years old, Dale Alexander. Now Dale also later on in the years played Madhouse with Prince, and he was 16 at the time when he played with us in the studio. His brother, Wendell Thomas, he played bass, and he was around my same age. I think I was around 22, 23, or something like that, or 25. I can't remember. But anyway,
Yeah.
I was older than those guys. And we have Pierre Lewis. Now, Pierre Lewis now is playing with the Commodores, so all these guys have branched out. So we did 5 songs in the studio in 4 hours, and it was amazing. And I really didn't know how amazing it was until I got a copy of the tape, and then I went home and I'm listening to the tape and I'm going like, man, Prince is playing some dangerous stuff here. It was driving me crazy. I was going like, well, wait a minute. And then my bass player called me up. Wendell calls me up, and he says, Pepe, and I go like, yeah. He says, what was Prince playing, man? I said, dude, I don't even know, man, but it's killing. It was killing, man. He played like a studio musician that's been playing for years. And we were just in awe of that. And that we named those tunes the Cookhouse Five because that was the first time that Prince in the studio. And matter of fact, it was the first time for all of those guys, but it was my first time as a producer, you
Mhm.
know, and it was awesome. We did such a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Just that,
Yeah.
you bring this 16-year-old kid really into a studio who's never been there, and you're like, "Okay, we'll see what he can do," and then you're listening, and he's like, "Wow." And he's,
Yeah,
like, better than some of the people that have made careers out of, like, being a
I
studio
know.
musician.
It was unbelievable. I played acoustic guitar. Prince played the electric, and it was amazing. Oh, and another thing is, the next day, Prince calls me up, and he goes, "Pepe," and I go like, "Yeah." He said, "I got to go back in the studio." I said, "Excuse me?" He says, "I got to go back in the studio. I got to change something." And I'm going like, "What do you got to change? I mean, that stuff. What are you talking about?" He goes like, "No, man, you gotta let me back in." I go like, "Oh man." I was gonna go play golf. So I wasn't gonna give up my golf game. That's it. So I called the studio and Dick Headland was the engineer. And I called Dick up and I said, look, I said, let Prince come in. I don't know what he's gonna do. He said he made an error or something or whatever. I don't know what he's talking about, but let him do what he's gotta do. I'm gonna go play golf. you know. So Prince goes in the studio and he on If You See Me, he changed something. I didn't even notice the change, you know. But if you listen really carefully on there's a part in there where the guitar sounds a little different on one of the parts, right? And that's because when you go into a studio and another group comes in after you, they clear the board.
Yeah,
So nothing is really the same as it was when we recorded. So they tried to match it as close as possible, his guitar sound, but I could hear the difference.
yeah,
But it still was good. It was
yeah.
great. And then, later on we went back into the studio. We did several other songs. Prince played on at least 12 or 13 songs that I've written. Plus, we wrote one together called Just Another Sucker, you know. And then what happened was I took the Cookhouse Five to New York. And me and Wendell, my bass player, we go to New York. We're staying at my grandmother's brownstone. And we're calling up companies and stuff, trying to make appointments for the A&R people to see us. And we go to Manhattan. We go into a building. We look at the roster and we go like, yeah, oh, Brunswick Records is right here on the 30th floor. Let's go up there. We didn't have no what do you call them? Whatever. We didn't have.
Any You didn't have any, like, connections to it
Yeah, yeah.
or
We didn't have no connections or nothing like that. We go up to the 30th floor, and the secretary's there, and she says, "Yes, can I help you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I like to see your A&R man." And they were going like, "Okay, hold on." And then a guy would come out. We go into his office. We play some songs and stuff. Now I knew that we weren't going to be signed with Brunswick. To me, it was just to get acclimated into
Yeah,
shopping songs and
Get
stuff.
a sense of what it's like to shop yourself around the industry.
You got it, Ryan. You got it. So we went to Brunswick, we went to RCA, we went to Columbia, and then we went to Polydor. So we had an appointment with Polydor. That's it. We had an appointment there. And so, but we kept getting canceled. They would call me up. Oh, Pepe, we can't do it today. We have to do another time. And they booked another time. And then they would do it again and cancel it. Then 5 times we were canceled. And at that time, I was talking to a very good friend of mine named Teddy Randazzo. Now, Teddy Randazzo wrote "Going Out of My Head," "Hurt So Bad," "I'm on the Outside Looking In," for Little Anthony and Imperials, and he also wrote tons of songs for other artists as well. So we had Teddy put some strings and other instruments on those tapes that I had, and I told him about Polydor and everything, and he goes, "Well," he says, I said, "I got a meeting with Polydor on such and such a date." He says, "Well, do you want me to go with you?" I was in shock. I was like, "This guy, man, sold millions and millions of records, gonna go out." I said, "Teddy, yes. I mean, that was, oh man, I appreciate that." So he went with me to Polydor. And by that time, because they canceled me so many times, I wasn't talking to the A&R man. We had a meeting with the vice president of Polydor, and that was
Yeah.
really cool. So we both went up there. They listened to the songs. They liked the songs. And then we got signed. We got signed to Polydor. Now, at that time, Dale Alexander, the 16-year-old drummer that we had, kept being late for rehearsals when we would have rehearsals.
Mhm.
So we had to let him go. I had to set an example. So I said, and he was, man, this guy was, he was a great drummer. I hated it. So then we put an ad in the paper. We had to find another drummer and stuff. We had Sonny Thompson, who had auditioned for us. And I really wanted a white drummer because I was a big fan of Sly and the Family Stone, and they had all these mixed people in there, and so Bobby Rifkin auditioned for us, and I said, okay, yeah, we're gonna take Bobby. Now we took Bobby. Bobby didn't even know Prince, didn't had no idea of whatever it was. So we got signed to Polydor. I come back to Minneapolis, and we had to tell Bobby you know, um, yeah, we got signed and everything. He was happy and everything. But we were under the tutelage of Hank Cosby. Now, Hank Cosby had wrote and produced with Stevie Wonder for Once in My Life and My Sharia Moore. So now
Yeah.
I'm working with these heavyweights. I'm going like, oh my God. So Hank comes to Minneapolis. We had Sound 80. So we walk into Sound 80, and here comes Prince coming out of the studio we were going to record in. And he goes, "What are you guys doing here?" And I said, "Dude, we getting ready to do our single, man." And he goes, "Can I play on it? I got to play on it." And I said, "Sure, man. Come on, man." So we had Prince play on our single. Hank wrote Fortune Teller, and I wrote 1015, and Prince played guitar, and he sang backgrounds on Fortune Teller with us. And Prince was asking Hank all these questions. Why don't you try this? Why don't you do this? Blah 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 blah. Blah. And Hank would always say, "I already thought about it. I already thought about it." So he was just pushing him to the side and everything
Yeah.
like. And Prince was just playing his guitar. So we did the single. Hank goes back to New York, and then about a few months later, Hank gets fired. He gets fired, and then the new crew comes in, and they call us up, and they said, "Well, we didn't see eye to eye what Hank was doing and stuff, so we're gonna have to let you guys go." Oh, that broke my heart. And I'm telling Prince and Andre, we're standing outside in Minneapolis. I
And
said, "Man,
were you still in the middle of, like, making these singles and whatnot when they let you go?
No, no, we had already did the single. We was
Okay.
waiting for it to come out. We was waiting
Yeah.
for the release date and stuff. So when Hank got let go, we was going like, well, when is the release date? What's going on? They're going like, nah, we're gonna have to let you go, blah, 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 blah. So I'm in Minneapolis, we're standing outside, me, Prince, and Andre, because we hung out all the time, and I said, man, we got dropped from Polydor. Prince was upset. Now he was more upset than I was. And he said to Andre, we got to go back in the studio with Pepe. And I'm going like, and they look at me and I'm going like, okay, yeah, we'll go back in the studio. And I'm thinking, where am I going to get the money to pay for studio time? I mean, it's like $100 an hour,
Yeah.
and you talking like in the 70s, you're going like, man, So, but I managed and stuff, So Prince, Andre, me, Marcy Ain't Volkstad, and Christy Lazenberry, my background singers, we go into Sound 80. So Prince and I wrote Just Another Sucker. I wrote Dance to the Music of the World. And me and Christy wrote Better Than You Think. These are these. No, me and my other friend wrote Loving Cup. Loving Cup, that's what it was. And Prince played keyboards on Loving Cup. He played guitar on Loving Cup. He played drums on Loving Cup. I played acoustic guitar. Andre played bass, and Prince did the drums, guitar, and keyboards on Just Another Sucker, and Dance to the Music of the World. I played guitar. Andre played bass. Prince played guitar and drums, and we did
Yeah.
those three songs and stuff. But when I had seen Prince at Sound 80 when we were going in to do our single, he was just coming out of the studio doing a demo because while I was in New York, he had met Owen Husney and Chris Moon, and so when we finished the three songs that we did at Sound 80, Owen Husney was shopping Prince's demo tape, you know, and
Yeah.
so Prince got signed to Warner Brothers. And I was going like, "Oh man, that's fantastic!" Yeah. So, but then I said, "Now I don't want what happened to me happen to Prince."
Mhm.
So I dropped looking for another label. I dropped, doing that, and I said I'm going to concentrate on Prince's career, and that's when I started really helping him. So now he's signed to Warner Brothers. He starts rehearsing at Dell's Tire Mart in Minneapolis. And I don't know if he left the door open or somebody broke in or whatever, but all his equipment was gone.
Mhm.
They stole all of his stuff. Now, the only thing they didn't steal was two speakers that I had lent him so that he can practice with, and they were huge. They were Eden Super Serpents. I mean, you could, you would have to have a Mack truck to put those speakers in.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so he got robbed. Everybody's pissed off. I'm upset, and I said, "Okay, Prince," I says, "you're gonna come to my house, and you're gonna practice at my house." So now Bobby Z was running a lot of errands for Prince when he first got signed with Warner Brothers because he wanted to be the drummer in the band. So Prince picked him as a drummer. He got Andre on bass. He had Dez Dickerson on guitar, um, Gail Chapman on keyboards, and of course Prince playing guitar, and Matt Fink, playing keyboards. So they
Yeah.
rehearsed at my house in Minneapolis, South Minneapolis, for 6 months. And we didn't get any complaints from neighbors or anything like that. These guys practice 12 hours a day. from 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, you know? And man, it was just amazing, you know? He auditioned, you know, Dez coming in and everything, and Gail coming in. So he picked them and he started rehearsing. And one day after a rehearsal, after 12 hours, I had to tell Prince something and I had to go to his house. He had just bought this new house and stuff because he got signed with Warner Brothers, got a nice advance and everything. So I drove to his house. I seen his car sitting outside. So when I go to his house, knocking on the door, nobody answers. And I know he's home. I'm ringing the bell, I'm knocking on the door, I'm banging, no answer. And I said, man, what's going on here? And I start hearing this little tapping, tapping. I said, where's that coming from? So I go around to the side of the house, in a little basement window. I look down there. Prince was down in the basement practicing drums. He's playing drums. And I'm going like, after 12 hours of practice, this guy is down there playing drums. I'm going like, oh my God. So I bang on the window in between the beats, So he was going that, and I go, you know, in
Yeah.
between the beats, and he look up. I said, "Man, open the door," So he comes to the door, and I tell him whatever I had to tell him. I forgot what it was, but and then he says, "Okay." Then I go back home, and and I said, "Man, no wonder why this guy is so good. He practices all the time." So I said, "You know what? I'm gonna do the same thing." I said, "I'm gonna practice like that. I'm gonna practice hard, man. I'm gonna get real good." I got to like 4 hours on my guitar, and I said, "I can't do it. I
You're
can't
like,
do it,
"Baby
man."
steps. We'll start with 4 for now. That's good."
Yeah, that's it, man. 4 hours. I said, "All right, that's good." I couldn't do any more, man. It was crazy. So they practiced in our house. Warner Brothers wanted to come in and see Prince's show, you know. And I know that the band was tight. They were tight. After 6 months of practicing, they were tight. So I produced his first concert at the Capri Theater in North Minneapolis. We had the tickets made. I went to Naked Zoo and got the lighting and everything like that. And we sold tickets. It was like $4.75 to see Prince, you know?
Yeah.
So Warner Brothers come in. It was cold. It was January or something like that. It was real cold. And they come in their limos and stuff, and I had to usher them to their seats and everything, and Prince and those guys, and they played. So uh, Warner Brothers thought that Prince wasn't ready to go on tour yet. So of course I was upset because I thought they were ready. Prince was upset because he thought they were ready. The rest of the band thought that they were ready. So Prince says, we got to go back to the drawing board. So they got a rehearsal space on Highway 7 in Minneapolis. And they started practicing there, you know. And then I would come over every once in a while to check them out, see how they doing and everything. And Prince would do something like uh, to stop the band and then start the band on his command, you know. So he would go something like, ah, and the band would stop. Then he go, ah, then the band would start again. Then he would leave the room, go down the hallway, and go, ah, and the band would start playing again and stuff. He wanted these guys to be tight, and they were tight, man. They were absolutely the best, man. And then after that, I was, me and Prince was really tight, and I never had any type of no answer from Prince. I didn't tell him what to do. I asked him. I said, "Why don't you
Yeah.
try, blah, 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 blah. Wouldn't it be great if you blah, 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 blah?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." He never said no, you know? And so that was his high regard of me. And I loved that. That was great. So one day, um, he needed something, and I was over his house. And I go, well, where's your manager? How come your manager is not doing this, for you? He's supposed to be here. I said, look, okay, I'm going over to Owen's office, right? I drove my car over to Owen's office. He owned this company called the Ad Company. So I go over there and I go, Owen. He goes, yeah. I said, Prince needs this, Prince needs that. I said, why are you even here? I was upset. I said, you're supposed to
Yeah.
be in LA, Chicago, New York, somewhere, California and stuff, lobbying for your artists. And this is what he said to me. And this is the God's honest truth. He got mad at me because I said this in an interview that somebody was doing a book, and I said this to this guy. And he said to me, why should I leave my job for someone who probably won't make it? I said, what? He said, yeah, why should I leave my job for somebody who probably, he said, Pepe, you manage him. And I said, Owen, I am not a manager, but I'm not going to see Prince get, I use the F word, messed up out here, And I told Owen right then and there, I said, Owen, you're fired. Now, I didn't have the legal right.
Yeah, I was gonna say you told him that, not Prince
Yeah,
or Warner Brothers or anything.
yeah,
You
right.
told him that.
I said, Owen, you're fired, man. So I went back to Prince's house and I said, Prince? He goes, yeah. I said, Owen's out. He says, okay. Just like that. I mean, this is how much he trusted me, man, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Owen's out, man. He says, okay, boom, boom, boom. So then I started managing him. So I did manage him for a few months because I told him, I said, Prince, man, look, I'm not a manager, man. I'm a producer, a musician, a songwriter and stuff, but I know what a manager's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I said, I will help you find a new manager. So I started calling. I called my friend, Don Taylor. Don Taylor was the manager of Diana Ross, Marvin Gaye, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Jimmy Cliff, you know, and I knew Don because Don used to manage the Imperials, Little Anthony and the Imperials. So I called Don and I said, Don, I got a guy here. He signed with Warner Brothers and stuff. He needs a manager who knows the business. He says, okay. So he flies me and Prince. we go to Miami. He flies us to Miami. And so he talks to Prince. Oh, this is what he did. He says, what's your tour budget? Prince says, oh, my tour budget is $80,000. Don picked up the phone, called the president of Warner Brothers, which was Mo Austin. And he talked to him for like 5 minutes, hung up the phone. He says, your tour budget is now $160,000, you know, just like that. And then I told Prince, I said, see, I said, that's what a manager is supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I also went with him to North Carolina, um, where he was signing albums, and it was a food thing. You bring a can of food or some kind of food, and you can get in and you can get an album, and Prince would sign the album for you and stuff. So I was there, and um, it was like 2,000, kids, man, just you know out there. And when we landed, and the limo picked us up at the airport, the radio station. The guy had the radio station on. Jimmy Blue was the guy's name, the radio DJ, and he was saying Prince plane just landed, and he's going to be here real soon. So all you people get your food together and come on down to so and so and so and get your album signed and everything. And we were going to the hotel. We got no, we going to the hotel first, man. We got to relax. So he went to the hotel. Then we came out. And then when we got to the venue where we were supposed to be, um, we're walking down this gauntlet of 2,000 kids, you know? And Prince was in front of me and I was in the back. And then I heard these people going like, wow, he's so short. And I know Prince heard him, but he didn't go like, hey, whatever.
He didn't care,
Just,
yeah.
he just, like with blinders on, man. This guy just kept walking and stuff. We get inside the school or wherever we were, and we up on stage. And one of the people from Cameo was there too, and he was signing albums. Prince was signing albums, and then all of a sudden, the crowd was getting too big, and some people started leaking onto the stage and everything. And Prince was signing albums. So I went down to him and I whispered in his ear. He's down signing albums, and I whispered in his ear. And he looks up, and I said, "The next time that I bend down and talk to you, get up and let's go." He says, "Okay." You know. So I
Yeah.
got security. I went to security. I said, "Look, we got to get security because people are leaking on stage and stuff, and I don't want anything to happen to him. I don't want him to get mobbed or moiled, mobbed or
Yeah,
whatever."
yeah.
And so when the limo was there and security got tight, I been down to Prince and I says, "All right, man, let's go." He jumped right up, boom. We went through a gauntlet of security, jumped in the limo, went back to the hotel. So he came
Mhm.
to my room and we were sitting down talking. And he says, "Pepe." And I said, "Yeah, man, what's up?" He said, "You know what?" I said, "What?" He says, "I feel like a piece of meat being carried around." And I went like, wow. And I understood what he meant because, I've been around the business for a minute,
Yeah.
And so I had to bring him back down to reality. So we started talking about baseball, sports and everything, trees and birds and everything like that and everything.
Yeah.
And he started coming down a little bit. And then Tommy from Cameo wanted to really get to meet Prince because he didn't really get to meet him. He was just sitting next to him signing albums. So he comes over to my room and him and Prince start talking. Now, Tommy lived in New Jersey, right? So Prince says, "Oh, my sister lives in New Jersey." One of his half sisters, Sharon, lived in New Jersey. And they started talking. Come to find out, Tommy lived in the same building as Prince's sister, So that
Yeah.
really brought him back down to reality and stuff, where,
Yeah.
you're not feeling like a piece of meat and everything like that. And then we left and, came back to Minneapolis. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's great that you having such a good relationship that you can, you're there to bring him back down to reality, back down to earth when he might like get lost in the fame and whatnot. And
That's
and so now you've started your own record label, Reo Deo. You've signed 3 artists so far. Um,
well, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and I guess just, like, going forward, what can people expect to see from the label in the next coming years?
Well, right now, I had my music was on my label, then E-Class, a positive rap artist, and then Michaela Lockhart. She's now with the Traveling Hamilton play, you
Yeah,
know, and Monet Love. I don't know what she's doing now, but I put out all of those records. We didn't do very well because we didn't have the money to promote the records, like Warner Brothers does and everything. You got to have
yeah,
at that time 250,000, $500,000 to promote an artist and everything. So, but now I'm consulting a few artists. TK Thomas, he's on TikTok. and he's doing really well. He's getting over like 2 million hits. Um, and Princess out of Norway, this black chick out of Norway, you know, and then
Yeah.
Arrow from out of New York, and she's a triple threat because she plays keyboards and she's a writer, she's an artist, and she's also an actress, you know. And so I'm just consulting them right now and looking for the next big star. I'm looking, man. But in the meantime, I'm writing, I'm recording songs, and I'm doing all that. And then my book. Did you get my book?
No, I didn't. Where can people find and get your book?
Okay, hold on 1 second, because I know this is, hold on. You have to get this book right here.
Okay.
If You See Me, my sixth decade journey in rock and roll. This tells the whole story about how the Minneapolis sound got started, plus more interesting stories and stuff. And like you had said earlier, Colonel Abrams, I was the first guy to produce Colonel Abrams as well. You know,
Mhm.
he sang the lead in Fortune Teller, the original version. He sang that. And I've known Colonel for years and years and years before he passed away, you know. But another thing is like this book where it says, If You See Me, because that was one of the songs on the Cookhouse Five, right? And Prince had recorded it. It was in his vault, but it was titled Do Yourself a Favor, you know?
Yeah.
So Prince did his version. I had my version. We sold about 1 million of those. And Prince did his version, and it just came out in 2019. I don't know what the sales are on that, but um, Warner Brothers, Sony got together and they put that out. So
Mhm.
that's out and it's on his 1999 deluxe album. Do yourself a favor, and it's the only song on that album that Prince didn't write. That was my song, which is real cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I loved him, man. I loved Prince so much, man. Uh, I know he was like my cousin-in-law, but to me, he was like my little brother, you know. And when he passed away, it was a major, major shock, to me and all the other 94 East members, Marcy and Christy and myself and all the rest of the band members. And I just did not believe it. I didn't believe that this guy was gone, and it was very hard on me. And I did reels, how it really happened, and I cried like a baby. I've done, other, docu series and stuff that documentaries, that I cried and stuff, and I just couldn't help it, and I was in Florida because I got another condo in Florida as well as here in Nevada. Um, his music came on the radio. I'm driving in the car. I had to pull over. I had to pull over, man, because I could not. I couldn't. I just
Yeah.
couldn't. It was just so devastating to me. And they had billboards out in Minneapolis. Prince, 1958 to the year he died, 2016, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I was screaming his name in the car. I'm in the car driving. I'm going, Prince, Prince. I'm just screaming so loud, man, because it was hard and it's still hard, man. I miss him, man. I just miss him so much. And I know that, all his fans and people who loved him, miss him so much, man, and me and his cousin Charles, we call him Chaz. We played a lot of basketball. Oh yeah, and I played basketball with Prince too. This guy was phenomenal. Oh my
What
God.
couldn't he do?
Huh?
What couldn't he do?
I know. I, I mean, unbelievable. And I'm a basketball player. I play. I used to take my
Yeah.
sneakers and a basketball and drive around Manhattan, all the 5 boroughs in New York, man, looking for games, and
Yeah.
I see guys playing. I go, oh, yeah, these guys are good. I'm going to play. And I'll go and I play with them. My
Yeah.
cousin, Connie Hawkins, played for LA Lakers and Atlanta Hawks and stuff. And he finishes his basketball thing with the Phoenix Sun before he passed away. So now me, Andre, and Prince is over South Minneapolis, and we're playing basketball, you know. And man, I'm good on defense. I got good offense. I got all these great shots, and I'm guarding Prince, right? And
Yeah.
I'm going like, okay, you little MF thing. I said, you ain't getting by me, mama. I said, you ain't.
Yeah.
And he just look at me and he laugh and stuff, and he starts dribbling. Next thing I know, he's gone. Went right by me, laying up, look at me and start laughing. I'm like, dude, man, come on. Then we played these other guys. Um, Me, Andre, and Prince, we played these other guys over South Minneapolis. And we beat these guys so bad. And they got mad. And this is what I give Prince props for. Because he looks at this guy and he goes, well, you look like you want to fight or something. And I was like, oh no. Like, why'd you say that, man? You know what I'm saying? Now
Yeah.
we got to get into a fist fight with all these other guys, man. But it didn't turn into a fist fight or nothing like that. But Prince was phenomenal and stuff. Then he beat Jimmy Fallon in ping pong. You know,
Yeah.
he was good at everything, man. I
Yeah.
love him, man. I love him. I still love him, man. It will always be in my heart. And then Purple Rain, we did Purple Rain, and most of my parts were cut out, of course. Yeah, I don't know why, but maybe it was too long. But me and Morris Day had a part in Purple Rain where we were in this club, and this juggler was juggling hatchets and knives and stuff, and he kept dropping them. So with Morris's laugh and my laugh, it was like hilarious. But that got cut out in the final
Yeah.
cut. And so where you see me at in Purple Rain, um, Prince sings Purple Rain. And then after he does Purple Rain, he walks back to the dressing room. And one of the people that he passes in the hallway as he goes back to the dressing room is me. I had a nice big fro then.
Yeah.
But it was just an honor. And then all my friends would call me up from Brooklyn. Man, when you coming back to New York, man? When you coming back? I said, dude, I ain't coming back. I said, this is the next Motown out here, man. I ain't leaving. They say, any black folks in Minneapolis? I said, yeah, they got some black folks in Minneapolis. But the radio station, it was what was the name of that radio station? KUXL, or I can't remember the name of it. I think it was KUXL. The station came on in the morning, and when the sun went down, the station was off. And I was like, what? I said, man, we got all kinds of stations in New York and play 24/7 and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's changed now. It's changed. As well as the business has changed a lot too. Social
Yeah.
media plays a big part in the industry today. And you got to have some type of a following in social media, and the record labels are not giving out those big advances as they used to, you know.
Yeah.
So it all changed. But I miss Prince. I really do. I really do.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sure. And yeah, well, those are all the questions I had for you today. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on. It's been a great talk. Where can people, learn more about you if you want? If there's anywhere that they can listen to the music at 94 East, where can they
Oh
do
yeah.
that?
Well,
Anything like that.
we're on Spotify and Pandora. We got our own radio station, 94 East, featuring Prince Radio. And also on Spotify, we have my songs on there. And you can get my book. if you
Mhm.
see me, my 6 decade journey in rock and roll at Amazon or where your local bookstores are, if they don't have it, they can order it and stuff like that,
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
also my website, pepemusic.com,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, thank you again for coming on. I'll leave a link to some of that down below, and, yeah, I can't wait to, see anything else you do and stuff.
Ryan, it was a pleasure. I appreciate the invite, man. And, I wish you all the best in your podcast and all the things that you're doing.